Wants to throw it to short. He caught it. He's going on first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.
The regular season has come to an end. Your Detroit Lions finished 12-5, and they are now headed to the playoffs versus the NFL narrative, Rams, at home this Sunday night at 8 p.m. And I know a lot of you are wondering, did the NFL drive this? Is this something that they've been looking forward to bring the comeback kid back home to face off against the castaway in Jared Goff? All of those questions will be answered on Sunday night. I promise you, it's going to be an excellent game. I just hope that our Lions are going to be ready and they're not going to crack under the pressure. I feel very confident that they're going to be ready and they're not going to crack, only because we've seen what they've done this entire season. Number one, they've never lost more than 2 games in a row. They've never lost 2 games in a row. Number two, when they've had a bad loss, they've bounced back in a big way. Number three, when everything has been on the line, these Lions have stepped up to the plate. And we've seen it time and time again. Even this past Sunday was a game in which Amon-Ra St. Brown publicly said that he was pissed off that he was snubbed in the Pro Bowl. And what did he do? Amon-Ra decided that he was going to go ahead and put up 144 yards and 1 touchdown on the biggest stage in the NFL. Matter of fact, it was exactly, 7 passes, 144 yards, and a touchdown. A night when a big night was needed, your boy Jared Goff decided to go, 23 of 32? Let me get the stat for you. I want to say it was 23 of 32 for like 124.5 rating. Come on, where'd it go? All right, 23 of 32, 320 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 124.5 rating. I should just trust my memory on this, right? And Mullins on the other side was 30 of 44 for 396 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 92.6 rating. So my only concern at this point is the defense. Which defense is going to show up? Are we going to get the defense that plays strong, that is sound in its assignments, that's really crushing the details every moment of the game? Or are we going to get a defense that's going to let up explosive play after explosive play to Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and allow the run game to get started, in which we haven't seen all season? Our defenses shut down the run game in every single game for the most part. And that's the one that I'm looking forward to. So, all right, just a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Michael Dover, Steve K, Sir Ella, and Casey. Can everybody hear me okay? And we'll be having Derek on here in just a little bit. He's still getting set up for his live stream of the championship game tonight between Washington and Michigan, which is another phenomenal showdown. Should be an excellent game. And I'd be looking for a few players that the Lions might be targeting in this game for next year's draft. So tonight, what do I want to do? I want to recap not so much the game. I am going to bring in a doctor who's going to talk about Sam LaPorta's injury and see what he has to say. And then I'm going to recap our stats for the season and just take a look at a few things that I noticed, shows us that this team is improving year over year. It's getting better year over year. And some of the best players on this team are showing consistency year in and year out. And it's hard to do. This is the NFL. It's not an easy place to live and make a living. Careers are often very short, whether it's because you're just not good enough or because of injury. And Sam LaPorta had a really, really, really scary injury that thankfully sounded like we're going to know a lot more in about 48 hours once the swelling calms down. And I just want to make that point before I bring in this doctor here to talk about it, is right now they don't know what they have in Sam LaPorta, and that's because of the swelling. When you go through an injury like this, you're full of inflammation and swelling right away. So they've got to get that calmed down through treatment over the next 2 days and then take a look and see, how bad is it? And is he going to be able to move around? Because the first 4, 8, 12, 24 hours after this injury, the adrenaline's starting to calm down and the swelling's starting to pick up and he may not be able to move. So I'm planning on no Sam LaPorta this Sunday. And I know there's been some rumors flying around about Zach Ertz, which would be an excellent pickup, honestly. Spoke about it with Derek earlier. He came across that. And, in the beginning, I didn't think that it would be a great option. But the more I look into it, there's nobody else that's even close to what Zach Ertz can do. My only question is he just came off an injury, I believe, in November, and wondering how he's doing without playing the last couple of months. But it'll be interesting to see. All right, Southwest Lions 16's in. Casey, Superintendent Chalmers, and One Life, One Chance, Michael McCormick, Michael Dover. Good to see you guys all in the chat. I'll bounce into it in just a minute. Don't worry about these things that say send stars to show your support. I don't know why this stuff is still popping up from Facebook. I'll get it fixed. But let me bring in this doctor who's going to talk about Sam LaPorta's injury and see what he has to say. Let me know if you can hear everything okay. You should be able to.
Section. We can see here on the injury video that as LaPorta is being tackled, that left knee buckles and we see it bend backwards into that hyperextension position. Here we have a model of the knee joint, and so the knee joint is formed by that femur bone, which is going to come on down and form the top portion of the knee. Then we have the tibia bone, which is going to come up and form the bottom portion of the knee. And as we go ahead and flip the model laterally here, we also have another long bone located in the lower leg, and that's known as the fibula. There are 4 main ligaments that contribute to overall stability of the knee, and they are the anterior cruciate ligament, also known as the ACL for short. As we flip the model medially or towards the inside, we have the medial collateral ligament, also known as the MCL for short. As we flip the model laterally or towards the outside here, we have the lateral collateral ligament, also known as the LCL for short. And finally, as we look on the back here, we have the posterior cruciate ligament, also known as the PCL for short. 2 other structures are located deep within the knee joint. They are the medial and lateral meniscus. You can think of these pieces of fiber cartilage essentially as shock absorbers between the femur and the tibia bones. So let's go ahead and talk about hyperextension of the knee. Anytime we're talking about knee extension, this is going to be straightening of the knee. So essentially any motion where we're going to be kicking that leg out, that's going to put that knee in extension. Anytime we're talking about hyperextension, this is going beyond that person's normal value of extension in their knee. And you can see as I do this, this is stressing all of the ligaments that are located within the knee here. So you have the MCL, the ACL, the LCL, and the PCL all at risk for injury here. And if the forced hyperextension is great enough, you can deal with essentially a ligament rupture as well. One thing to note on this video in particular is it looks like as soon as that knee is going into hyperextension, he's also getting a lot of varus force coming from the inside going to the outside portion of the leg. And anytime you get a varus force, that is going to bias and potentially affect that LCL because that force is going from inside to out. It's going to stress that ligament greatly. As of right now, they have not reported any significant injuries to any particular ligament. They just said that he's dealing with a hyperextended knee. However, it looks like based on the video that in this hyperextension position, that LCL and maybe some other structures could be involved. But the positive news is that it doesn't look like any of those ligaments.
All right. So you've seen what he's saying, right? We're not at the liberty of knowing what his MRI results actually were, but just based on the way that Sam LaPorta's knee bent, I think that he's pretty darn lucky we didn't see one of those gruesome injuries where you see the bone actually pop through the other side, being the femur. We've seen that a few times in the NFL. And we've seen it from guys just running down the field and they get tackled from behind. And next thing you know, that knee bends like that. What this is telling me, though, just watching Sam LaPorta and that injury as it unfolded, is that he's got some pretty strong legs because his strength in his legs is probably what prevented, and those ligaments, on the lateral and medial side are what helped him keep everything intact as much as possible. We don't know the full story. Like Dan Campbell said, we'll find out more in the next 48 hours. I hope that he's back. It was an ugly, ugly, ugly injury, but I think that Sam LaPorta might have escaped the big one here. Khalif Raymond, as you guys know, also suffered a pretty bad injury, got hit pretty hard. Both of these guys are more than likely going to be out this weekend, but we'll see what happens. One last check. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay, because it sounds like it's a little soft. I'll turn up the mic just a little bit more here. If it gets too loud, just let me know. So let me back up into the chat and see what everyone's talking about here. Michael Dover says our secondary has to stiffen up. They cannot allow 400 yards passing against Stafford and his receivers. He will eat us up. And I firmly believe that. Our biggest problem right now is, and this is what I said the other day, Stafford's coming back home. And I know it's not his home anymore, but this is like home for Stafford. He is going to be extremely comfortable at Ford Field. He knows what this place is all about. He knows every area of that field. And I tell you, if there's anything to be gained from coming back to a field that you played on for years, more than a decade, 12 years, whatever it was, he's going to utilize it. And that's the one thing that I'm worried about, because there's going to be a lot of fans, unfortunately, that are probably going to cheer for Matt Stafford when he takes the field. And it's going to be hard not to for a lot of people, because it comes second nature. And I hope that, if any of you are going, that you try not to. I'm going to make a couple adjustments here. I'm not sure what's going on with my mic. It just sounds really dull. Really, really, really dull. All right. Let's see what that does. Okay. So next up, Casey says, Happy New Year. God bless you and your family. This new you, and hope for your continued success with this channel and your personal life. Go Lions. Casey, super appreciative of your comments. That's amazing. And I wish nothing but the best to you and your family as well. Southwest Lion 16 says, we need to stay with the blitzing. Very, very who blitzes, and can't give Stafford time. He will pick the Lions apart. The one thing that we know about Matt Stafford is that he has every throw in his arsenal. The guy's like the sidearm king. There is not one throw he can't make. And the big difference between him and Jared Goff is Stafford can throw from his back foot, left foot, off foot, unbalanced. It doesn't matter. With a flick of the wrist, he can chuck a 50-yard ball, and he can chuck it with accuracy. The one knock on Stafford for the longest time is that he threw the ball too hard, and he threw it without, any touch. And that was his biggest knock. As he's grown, and since he's left Detroit, this dude's developed some pretty good touch. And that's what has me nervous, is what he's, able to do. Let me move down into the chat here. Casey says, Jay Mitchell looked decent in preseason and is a pretty good player. I hope that Mitchell can step up. There was a lot riding on him when we picked him up, and I believe he was coming off of an ACL as well. And if my memory serves me right, that was his case, and that's why he has not developed as fast. And we've seen the same thing out of Jameson Williams, right? It just takes a season and a half to really get going. You've got to get through the first season, half of the next season. I think Jameson Williams would have been much further ahead if he had not been suspended. But James Mitchell, same thing. It just took him a minute, to get developed. And we still had TJ Hawkinson, so he didn't really have to be developed. And then we brought in Sam LaPorta this year. Whereas if we didn't have Sam LaPorta this year, I'm wondering, how that would have changed the progression of James Mitchell, and if he would have been, further ahead than where he is now. But I love, how you're thinking about this guy and in the light that, he can be a good player for us. It's just whether or not he steps up. One life, one chance says, I think Sam is going to play. Just my gut feeling. I hope you're right, man. I really do. We really need Sam. And I said this to Derek, he's 25% of our offense. Imagine losing 25% of anything. It's huge. It's going to be very difficult for the Lions to replace those yards between if Brock Wright plays, James Mitchell. I mean, they're just not the same type of player. Sam LaPorta runs receiver routes. He doesn't run just tight end routes. And he does a lot more than just running routes. He's, somebody that can also block downfield and is a pretty intelligent player. Southwest Lions says one of the strengths of the Lions offense is they have a lot of guys who can contribute. DPJ and Mitchell caught 3 passes for a combined 49 yards after LaPorta went out. That's a great point. I'm hoping that DPJ gets more involved in this game. He has the ability to be that boundary receiver for us. Not so much, over the middle that I'm worried about. It's the boundary stuff. And is, Jared Goff going to utilize, a part of the route tree, which it seems like we haven't utilized this entire season, which is the boundary. Everything has been inside. And I understand why. It's the safest part of the field where, when you're throwing over the middle, the guys are protected, right? They can't be hit. They can't be blindsided. Either you're going to get somebody hurt and you're going to get ejected, you're going to get a major fine, or you're going to get, a big penalty and a major fine. So it usually just doesn't happen. Occasionally it does, but it doesn't happen all the time. So that's where they've developed this offense, and they developed this offense to take advantage of the NFL rules. So we'll see. DPJ can do it all. I mean, he can run all the routes. He did it at Michigan. He did it 2 seasons ago. And, for the Browns, it's, what is he going to be able to do this weekend? Is he going to get worked in a lot, during the week of practice? And is Williams going to be able to step up? We really need him to step up and spread the field. Rigged Reality says, well, I would not count out LaPorta. That guy is a beast, and I think that he'll do anything he can to get back on the field. I feel the same way. All right, so let me bounce into some stats. I wanted to point out a couple of things, and that was from 2021 to 2023, we've seen an incredible transformation of this team. And I wanted to wrap up this season in a way that kind of shows what these Lions are doing and how they're progressing as a unit. So St. Brown in 2021 had 912 yards. Mr. Consistent is what I've labeled him. I think a lot of people have. And sorry about that. I got a message. I've labeled him Mr. Consistent because what he does is very consistent year in and year out. 912 yards as a rookie, 1161 as a sophomore, and 15-15 to end the regular season in his 3rd season. He literally grew by 27% his 2nd season, and then grew between his 2nd and 3rd season another 30%. He's growing at a very even rate. At this rate, he might break 1,900 yards, 2,000 yards next season, which would be phenomenal if he does that. But what it's showing us is that his growth and his maturity and the way that he attacks being a professional is leading to positive results on the field. That's why he's going to demand the Brinks truck to be backed up to his door. And that's why we just don't know if he's going to be paid, because there's going to be such a big offering from other teams if the Lions don't do something before his contract runs out. Now, as far as tight ends go, now we had TJ Hawkinson back in 2021. He had 583 yards. We didn't have much in 2022 for tight end play. And what that shows me is we needed a change, and that's why we brought in Sam LaPorta. Sam LaPorta had 889 yards to end the regular season. That's a big difference between 2021, when Brad Holmes first took over this team with Dan Campbell, to now. And huge donation by Better the Hunt, $10. Really appreciate your donation, man. And he says, hey, just jumped in. I will boo Stafford with everything I have. The guy wanted out. He got his wish. Goff is our QB. I will cheer for him. Love it. Absolutely love it. And, I'm going to give you the new soundbite that I just brought in. So there it is. Better the Hunt's just here so he won't get fined, and he's going to make sure that everyone boos Stafford come game time. Appreciate the donation, my man. So huge changes between 2021 and 2023. That's why this team is the NFC North champion. That's why they're growing at the rate that they're growing. Do I still feel that they're ahead of themselves? I do. I feel like they just need a few more pieces that they're going to end up picking up this offseason. So from an offensive side of this, the running backs in 2021, you had Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds, and DeAndre Swift. And combined, they had about 1,500 yards between all three. DeAndre Swift had 617. Jamal Williams had 601. In year two, you had Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, and Justin Jackson. And between all three, you had about 1,700 yards, just south of 1,700 yards. And of course, we know Jamal Williams went off. He only had 1,066 for yards, but he ended up getting 18 touchdowns, I believe, last season, which was huge. And then you look at what we did this season. David Montgomery missed, at least 3 games, and Jahmyr Gibbs missed at least 2 games, and both of them should have broken 1,000 yards. But David Montgomery has 1,015, Jahmyr Gibbs 945, and Craig Reynolds chipped in 179. So over 2,000 yards on the ground in 2023. So they went from about 1,521 to about 1,722 to over 2,000 yards in 23. Again, huge jumps in the way that this team is progressing. The biggest takeaway that I would say to all of this is when you look at the overall yardage of this team, and then we talk about Jared Goff and what he was, able to add to this team. There's some big differences here. Let me wind this back here. It's hard having all these different sheets open. Jared Goff only had 3,245 yards in what would be his rookie campaign as a Detroit Lion. And I believe he missed 3 games that season. In 2022, he rocketed to 4,438 yards. Incredible season. Now, you would think that when you have more rushing yards, that you're not going to have as much passing game. Yeah, that's not the case for this Jared Goff-led Detroit Lions offense. Not only did we put up over 2,000 yards on the ground, but Jared Goff put up another 150 yards through the air, throwing for 4,575 yards in 2023 during the regular season. So we have almost 7,000 yards, and I don't know the totals yet, but almost 7,000 yards of total offense between just rushing and passing is incredible. But it's also showing me consistency. Jared Goff is very consistent in what he's doing. And that's why I trust Jared Goff to lead us into this playoff game at home against his former team and to not crack under pressure. I've seen him bounce back so much this season. I mean, we've seen him throw 3-4 interceptions in a game and bounce right back and win the next 2, 3, 4 games in a row. And bounce right back in the fourth quarter and start throwing lasers. He's just he's so quiet, right? You don't see the rah-rah out of him. But you want to talk about someone that's confident, that trusts his ability. Jared Goff is a dangerous quarterback. He's dangerous because he doesn't get rattled. Very rarely do you see him get upset, you know. He's just an interesting character to watch. And if you watch his mannerisms on the field, I think you'll start catching what I'm trying to say here is that he's very consistent and he's quietly controlled. And Dan Campbell said it best the other day. He has controlled fury. Inside, this guy's burning. But on the outside, he's cute, cool as a cucumber. So I'm glad that Jared Goff is our quarterback, and I'm extremely happy that these Lions have an opportunity to go up against the Rams. It's not the game that I wanted because I wanted a better opportunity against the Packers defense versus this Rams defense. But at the same time, we're not scared. We can't be scared. You can't play scared. You can't be scared as fans. We have to welcome the competition. This is a different level now. It's a new league. This week starts a whole new season. All right, Rigged Reality says Brad Holmes has just been absolutely nailing it. St. Brown, I think, is the best receiver in football, all things considered, as far as reliability. Yards after the catch, he's incredible. Hokey Doo says Stafford is in for a rude awakening. He never had the home field fans as loud as they are. That's the thing that's going to be interesting. Is Stafford is going to finally hear what it's like to go up against this fan base while on offense. Now, he's heard it while, our defense is in, but has he really paid attention to it, while the offense is in for the other team to where, I feel like it's going to be a different environment for him. But at the same time, he knows this stuff about Ford Field already. Hatteras House 710 says, repping the D here in LA all day, every day, go Lions. That's right. Good to see you, Hatteras House. It's been a while. John Pierce, I didn't see a message come through, but how you doing tonight? Sir Ellis says, yes, this time fans won't be his friends. At the end of the day, I'm always going to respect Jared, Goff and what he's done and Matt Stafford and what he's done. But Jared Goff is our quarterback. The Detroit Lions, that's our team. And we'll be there supporting them. Whatever happens, happens. But what's not going to happen is I'm not going to support Matt Stafford during this game. After the game, absolutely. During the game, absolutely not. Mike P says, I believe Stafford, if we can get consistent heavy pressure on him, he's not as accurate as if he is able to sit back and allow his timing routes to open up. It's a great observation, and I believe that to be true as well. Hatter's House says, my dad and uncles are all Rams fans. This is fun. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one for sure. All right, so on the defensive side of the ball, from 2021 to 2023, our top defense in 2021, Charles Harris had 7.5 sacks. In 2022, Aiden Hutchinson as a rookie had 9.5, and James Houston had 8. The next closest in 21 was Julian Okwara with 5. So again, they're taking steps up. Overall, though, we had 39 sacks in 2022 and only 30 sacks in 2021. So a big upgrade in sack production and defensive production. In 2023, Aiden Hutchinson outdid himself, going for 11.5 sacks, 2 more than last season. Now, we didn't have James Houston this season to help him, grow as a player and to get more pressure and to, allow the other side to help Aiden grow. But Alim McNeil pitched in 5 from the inside. Overall, though, as a team, we finished with 41 sacks. And I would say that that's a pretty good improvement given, the situation that the Lions were in defensively this season. Missing a lot of players, a lot of guys going down with injury. And next season, hopefully we won't have that same situation. But defensively, this team has a lot of growth yet in front of it. And if I could point out one thing, it would be the opponents, ability to score at will and how many points, that they're averaging per game, which has been consistently the Achilles heel of this defense, allowing too many points. And since 2021, this team really has not gotten better in that respect. Matter of fact, let me pull up the other stat here. It'll take me just a second to find it. All right, so I'm just going to go by touchdowns. The opponents put up 51 touchdowns in 2022. The offense put up 54. In 2023, the opponent put up 46 touchdowns, and the offense put up 58. So that is a marked improvement from a scoring perspective. But what it shows me is the offense stayed very consistent, right? We went from 54 to 58. The defense went from 51 to 46. So they dropped, 5 touchdowns year over year, which is 30 points. Spread that out over 17 games is not much of a difference at all. Now in 2021, the defense let up 52 touchdowns, where the offense only put up 35 touchdowns. So if you look at the offense from 2021 to 2023, we went from 35 touchdowns in 21 to 58 touchdowns in 2023. That is a huge difference. Year over year, though, from 22 to 23, we still increased. We had about a 10% better scoring season. But the defense just didn't keep enough points off the board in certain games. And obviously in 2021, we got torched. Year over year, though, the Lions have only gotten better by about 16% since 2021 on the defensive side of the ball. All right, let me jump back into the chat here. Southwest Lion says, the more hits and sacks you get on a QB, the more likely they are going to turn the ball over frequently. Once they added speed to the pass rush, they started getting more sacks and turnovers. Isn't it crazy that all I spoke about since, let's see, did the Saints play before the Broncos or the Broncos play before the Saints? I don't remember now. But whatever game it was, the Saints or the Broncos, when I kept saying, man, they really got to go to 60 Bs. And they really need to start running the 4-2-5 more or the 3-2-6. I said it every week. You guys were here. You witnessed it. I said it every single week. If they're not going to get pressure up front that's turning into sacks and TFLs, then they have to start sending the linebackers and the DBs. And they started doing that. And it started to work. And then we really started to see Melifonwu come to life, Kirby Joseph come to life. My only question is, why didn't we do it earlier? Was AG afraid that we didn't have the right personnel to carry out those assignments? Because if you notice, when CJ Gardner was in yesterday, we didn't have those issues, meaning he wasn't worried at all. CJ Gardner was back there by himself quite often. So something tells me AG didn't have the confidence in the personnel that we had, and he was wrong. Because Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph have really stepped up in a big way. The person that still needs some help right now is Cam Sutton. He's really getting burned at times, and we're not getting enough help over top of it. All right, Andrew Jackson says, I pray we kick the crap out of the Rams. Let's go Lions. And Jordan says, what a matchup. Literally everyone is going to be watching. Goff just needs to settle in and know that the line has his back and we can run well too. Yet the old team knows Goff too. It'll be a great game. You know what's cool, though, is I feel like McVay knows Jared Goff, and he probably knows some of the plays that we're running. But I would say that if anyone has more of the experience factor on their side, I think it's going to be the Lions, because our offensive line was there with Stafford. Our almost complete offensive line was there blocking for Stafford. So if somebody knows somebody, it's our offensive line that knows what Stafford can and can't do well and what our defense needs to do to get to Stafford and where, his inaccuracies lie or his deficiencies lie that maybe you or I wouldn't recognize just by watching a game until you really broke down some tape. So I think that there's an advantage Lions there, that not only, do we have one of the smartest offensive lines, one of the best offensive lines in the league, but I feel like they're going to bring something to the table here for this defense of the Detroit Lions to find a few deficiencies to get to Stafford. And then maybe that'll help out our DBs more than the defensive line, honestly. Lone Wolf says it would be very nice if the Lions front four can get to Stafford. It would be. It would be nice for once. Aiden Hutchinson's going to have a crazy game. He really is. It's going to have to be the game of his life. And I hope that he doesn't fall back into his old tendencies where he gets so out of his, details and assignments that he throws the rest of the defense off, because that's what he's done, over the last 2 seasons is, he'll leave that big gap on the end. And I'll tell you what, if he does that, the Rams run game will eat us up. We've got to stick to stopping the run. If we stop the run, we can stop Stafford. I promise you. We just got to stop the run. All right, a couple more stats from 21 to 23. We talked about the rushing yards. We talked about the passing yards and how Goff has consistently gotten better every year. We talked about the defense and, allowing too many points and what they've done from 21 to 23. Really haven't gotten a lot better. But the one thing that I do want to look at is the rushing touchdowns. Now, in 2021, the opponent put up 19 rushing touchdowns on the season. In 22, they put up 22. But in 23, we've only allowed 15 rushing touchdowns on the entire season. So less than 1 per game. I would say that's a huge success. Now, where we have fallen is in the passing game by allowing 28 passing touchdowns versus 26 last season. So we really didn't get much better. If anything, we've gotten worse, obviously, by the numbers. And total yards on the season. Where's the total yards? Here we go. Total offensive output from 2021, we put up 5,484 yards. 2022, we put up 6,460 yards. And in 2023, we put up 6,712 yards. So we've gotten better every year as an offense. We just need this defense to step up. All right, that's enough of the boring stats. Let's talk some football. I'm not real sure when Derek's going to step in. We will be ending this, obviously, before the start of the game, which I believe starts at 7:30. And want to make sure that everyone has enough time to get in and watch the game tonight. I think Derek's going to be doing a live stream. I'm not sure if it's just the audio only, but definitely head over to Derek's channel when I'm done here and see what he's got. I'll probably be listening in too. So does anyone want to call in tonight, or does anyone have any big questions? We've spoken about LaPorta and what the injury means. The biggest question is who's going to step up in his place, and how can we win without 25% of our offense? Because that's pretty much what Sam LaPorta equates to. And I think that one answer could be this. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see more of a 2-back set with Montgomery and Gibbs. It's the one thing that we haven't seen really all season. which is Montgomery lining up in the backfield, Gibbs swinging out, either on the as a tight end or in the slot. And then you have Jamison Williams out there too, and you've got speed on speed. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown on the other side. I would love to see this alignment this weekend. I think it would definitely throw off anybody that we play because we have not run that play yet. What plays they'll run out of that, alignment, I don't know. I can definitely think of about 10 or 12 I would love to run. But I think that's one way we can make up for Sam LaPorta not being in the game if he's not in the game. If we just use speed and Goff can, get into a situation where he's getting the ball out quickly so we don't let Aaron Donald eat us alive, I think we'll have a lot of success and utilize that speed to get yak yards, which I think is going to be key in this game. It's not so much the explosive plays, where you're getting 20 yards, through the air. I think that this game is going to be won by getting more yak yards on the ground after the catch. And then, so Big T says, run the ball is the way, especially with the 2-back sets. Yes, we definitely need to run the ball 1,000%. What I'm saying is if we don't have Sam LaPorta's output from the tight end, which is averaging 60 yards a game, and he had 10 TDs on the season. So just south of 1 touchdown a game. That's a lot of output. And we need to make up for it. And I feel like if we utilize both of those guys, it will present the Rams with some issues and some things that nobody has tape on. Aaron Donald is not the same. No, he's not. He's definitely not. But he's still somebody we have to worry about. Lone Wolf says Ben Johnson has been creative without LaPorta. Last year, the offense was very good without a nice tight end. And that's a very good statement. And it's a very true statement. There is things that this team can do. And we're just going to have to revert to the old ways. The only difference is we had DJ Chark last year that started to come alive, the last, 7 games or so of the season. Now, I know he only had about 500 or 600 yards, but he started to come alive and gave us that deep threat. So far this season, we have not seen Jamison Williams really become that deep threat for us. Yes, he's caught a couple of long touchdowns. He had a really nice play the week before, but we're not seeing that consistent deep threat option, which backs up those safeties and the cornerbacks to play us a little bit more honestly. So maybe that's the key, right? Maybe we need to go up top and try to spread the field a little bit more early in the game. Maybe you do it on the first play from scrimmage and back these guys up. And once you do that, we can start to eat underneath, which has been our bread and butter all season. Lone Wolf says, I like what you said. Put Gibbs and Montgomery out there together. I was expecting to see that a lot more than, we really haven't much. So, matter of fact, I think that they lined up both Montgomery and Gibbs one play this past game, and then they brought Gibbs and swung him out wide. So they know that the play exists. I mean, there's plenty of options and formations that they can utilize here. But I wouldn't mind seeing them both in the backfield, and you just run Gibbs right through the line and hit him up the middle. Better the Hunt says, I'm thinking the Lions have held back offensively or offensive plays and schemes just for the playoffs. Same with our defense. Everything changes this Sunday. Campbell is a smart and clever coach. I'm betting on it. I love that comment. I 1,000% agree with it. I think that all coaches, play a little bit of hide the weenie throughout the season, and they're really trying not to show everything. It's almost like the playbook within the playbook. And I hope that we get to see it this weekend. And I hope that we have the personnel to run that playbook within the playbook. I'm sure that there's plays for everybody in every formation, that we have on this offense. So the defense is what I'm worried about. How are we going to control Puka Nacua? And how are we going to control Cooper Kupp? And I'll get more into this into the pregame. I really wanted to end tonight, doing the final game wrap up and talk about what's coming ahead and how we finished the season on such a high mark, which was we never got defeated yesterday. And even though that we started suffering injuries and some things weren't going our way there for a minute, what I saw yesterday from the fan base, every time that, Dan Skipper was reported eligible and how we just erupted and, not only in cheers, but in laughter and in completing, a pass to Skipper, it really just kind of set the tone to the NFL to say, we're not screwing around anymore. This isn't the same old Lions that you're just going to shit on. And if you want to kick us in the mouth, that's fine, but we're going to do exactly what Dan Campbell said we are going to do in 2021. And that's when we get knocked down, we're going to come back up and we're going to take a hunk out of you. And when you knock us down again, that's okay. We're going to get up and take a kneecap off. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to get us down. And when we get back up, we're going to take the other kneecap. And then it's going to take 3 more shots to get us down. And when we get back up, it's just going to take more and more. And sooner or later, we're going to be the last one standing. Well, I think we had the last laugh. And we proved that yesterday in this game. The last laugh is that Skipper reported eligible and caught the pass. And he didn't report eligible the week before in the Dallas game. And maybe, just maybe, the Packers can go do something against the Cowboys and take them out. Maybe. I'm not going to bet on it. I'd rather see the Cowboys again. That is one matchup I want back. But I think the stars are aligning for this team. It's going to be a hard game. But this is a team that doesn't back down. Dan Campbell is by far the best head coach I have ever witnessed, since I've been born. Wayne Fontes was a phenomenal coach. I mean, I got to see a few years of him, and I was really young, so it's a different time. But Dan Campbell is by far the best coach that this team has had in all of my years. Yes, we've had some good seasons. Jim Caldwell was a good coach too. He was probably my second best coach on the list. But there's things that this team is doing right now and how they're performing and how they bounce back that teams of the past could never do. A Matt Stafford team couldn't do. It was usually, only Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson that could battle back and help win games. Now we've got a cast of characters that any single one of these guys can go and win us a game. And you put it on the back of Gibbs, or you put it on the back of Montgomery, or you put it on Jared Goff's arm, and you let St. Brown go and battle back for us. I mean, there's options. If Sam LaPorta's in the game, he's obviously trusted. So this is a much, much different team. And they're going to battle. And they're going to win this Sunday. And I'm going to be there. Megan, Derek, and I and my father will all be there together. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And it's going to be a great win on Sunday night. I'm glad we got the 8 p.m. time slot, though. I really am. Everybody in the world is going to be watching. Whoever said that earlier in the chat, everybody in the world is going to be watching this game. All right, Lone Wolf says, I want to see the Lions versus Cowboys. I'm 39, and Campbell is by far the best coach I've seen with the Lions in my lifetime. And see, I'm right there with you. Lone Wolf also said, on defense, they have to communicate, especially the DBs. That's a big one. Yep, better the hunt. I did say hide the weenie. I sure did. That dates me, doesn't it? Tells you how old I am. We'll see. We'll see what happens. James Mitchell, TaylorMade Media, says, I think James Mitchell is going to surprise some folks. That's a great call. I hope so. He did have a nice catch over the middle. He did stretch out and caught a nice ball. Now, he missed that 2-point. That was a mess versus the Cowboys. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens with James. There's options for this kid to succeed in this offense, that's for sure. If Sam LaPorta can do it as a rookie, I would hope that, James Mitchell can do a little bit of something. We'll see what happens. All right, fire off a few more questions for me. We're going to be ending this thing right at 7. Derek was going to make it in, but I don't know if he's going to make it in or not. And that's all right if he can't. He's probably, too busy getting set up, and that's all right. A couple of things. Lone Wolf says, what scares you the most about the Rams? Well, I think that's an easy one. It's Matt Stafford. I memean, I was trying to bring in the soundbite tonight of the Cowboys game because it was just fitting. I had this thought come across, and ever since Matt Stafford did what he did to the Cowboys, remember the fake clock it, and runs up to the line and then acts like he's going to clock it and scores the touchdown. Ever since that game, I feel like the NFL and the Cowboys have had it out for us. And it almost feels like they got back at us with a 2-point conversion, which was another slap in their face, right? I mean, Stafford did it in epic fashion, and Goff did it in epic fashion. So it's those types of plays. And I know Stafford's not the same quarterback that he was back then. But when I look at Stafford, I mean, just look at the evolution of the guy. When he came into the league, he had this baby fat on him. Like he was chunky. He was a big quarterback. And now when you look at him, he's thinned out, he's toned, he's in the best shape of his life, and he's smart. And we know that he's tough as nails. So that's what worries me. We're going up against one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. I mean, I've always felt like that when he was a Lion, and I'll always feel like that when he's not a Lion. It doesn't matter what team he's on. He's one of the best to ever do it. There's a reason why he was the quickest to ever get to 50,000 yards. The guy has a hell of an arm, but he also has a hell of a brain. He's an extremely smart quarterback. So I think if there's one thing that scares me the most, it's what Stafford's going to be able to do with the ball and with his brain. John Pierce, you need a link? Give me just a second here. I'll get it. I don't know if he has anything posted, but I can at least go to his channel and post the channel in the chat. One second. All right, here you go. All right, there you go, John. That's the link to his channel, and then he should be live, doing some live stream of the game tonight, Michigan, Washington. Steve K, yes, he does throw a lot of interceptions. And by the way, Steve K, really appreciate you, man, for all the donations that you've given us and buying us some coffees the other day, man. That was super cool of you. I really appreciate it. And Stafford does throw a lot of interceptions, or at least he has. I wasn't going to do this tonight, but you know what? Now I want to look. Let's look at his stats real quick. Let's see how many interceptions he's got on the season. So he's got 11 interceptions on the season, only 24 touchdowns, 3,965 yards. So, I mean, Goff's had a better season by a lot. I mean, not even close. Now, I don't know the comparison of, the running game to the passing game for the Rams. I don't know if they've had better, production on the ground. And that's why his passing numbers are not as good. But when I look at his passer rating, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had probably 6 really bad games this season and 6 really good games this season. So through 2/3 of the season, 6 really good ones and 6 really bad ones, and probably 6, average, games. So you've got 3 different sides to Matt Stafford this season. Which one are we going to get on Sunday? Are the nerves going to get to him? Is he going to be nervous coming back home? Is he going to crack under the pressure? If so, we might see somebody that's, only throwing a 72.6 passer rating, who's chucking a couple of interceptions. We might see the guy against the 49ers or the Bengals, 2 interceptions, only 1 touchdown in the game, 66 rating. I mean, that's our only hope, is that we see him and we don't see the Matt Stafford that, does 328 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions, throws 70.6% completion rate, and 120.7 rating. I mean, that's the guy we don't want to see, because if he starts having fun, he's a tough guy to stop. But on the flip side of that, when we start having fun, you're not going to stop these Lions. We have too many weapons on this team. The wild card is Dan Campbell. What is Dan Campbell going to do? And it's early in the game, and we're on the 40-yard line, our 40, and it's 4th and 1. Are we going to start faking it right away? Are we going to start going for it right away? Or are we going to let this game kind of play out for a minute and punt the ball and try to bury him deep? Fox had an incredible game yesterday. Best special teams play I've ever seen. With that kind of play that makes you feel a lot better, that go let the guy kick the ball. Quit going for it all the time, especially in a playoff situation. If you're going to go for it, let's just say on average, you go for it two times a game, and playoffs, no, you should probably go for it maybe less than 1 time per game. Only when it counts, only when it matters, but not all the time. We need to take some points. Better Than the Hunt says, hopefully Stafford doesn't have the time to use his brain or his arm. He needs to get reacquainted with our nice turf. That would be great. He needs to be bottled up, put on the ground. Peter Braley says, I remember Louis Selman, nickname for Stafford, was Fat Boy when he first came to Detroit. He was a big boy, man, and he was pretty chunky when he first came into the league. But now that kid's in the best shape of his life. All right, so I forgot to release the name of who won the shirt from last week. Let me get it here in 1 second. All right, where is it? One second. Hold on here. I'm trying to pull it up. All right. So the winner was Lauren McQuaig. And the runner-up, if I can't get a hold of Lauren McQuaig, was Danny Gaming 79. So those are the two that you got Lauren McQuaig, who is the winner. If I can't get a hold of Lauren McQuaig, then Danny Gaming 79. And just so everybody knows, we just did a random pick of the chat, just kind of flung it, and that's where I landed. I read through a lot of the chat, and there was some amazing comments in there. You guys do an excellent job. So I put a few names together and flung it, and that's what I ended up with. Now I have this little wheel thing that I can spin. It's an app, and we'll start loading that thing up probably in the off season. We're going to be doing some giveaways and having some good times. In about a week, we're going to have some more information on the 2024 2024 Lions fan club cruise. I'll be putting some information together if you guys want to join the cruise. We don't handle any of the funds. That stuff is all done on the agent side. So if you guys want to join the cruise, there'll be a payment method to get you paid off before we leave. Of course, I'm sure you guys can pay for it all up front if that's something you want to do too. I can tell you this. Rough numbers are looking like $1,800 per person, plus your travel to get there. And if you're going to stay the night before at a hotel before we leave, and then obviously to get home. But the cruise itself is about $1,800 per person, 2-person cabins, unless, you're staying by yourself or going by yourself, of course. So I'll put some more information out, and we'll get this thing rocking so that we can get on this cruise. So it's a little after 7 o'clock. We're going to be having the game. One Life, One Chance says, drum roll, please. I like it. We'll try to reach out to Lauren McQuaig, and I think we have another shirt that's going to be given away, and I'll touch base with that individual if that's something that they still want to do, and we'll get another shirt handed out to somebody. Hopefully it's going to be an NFC Championship shirt. Man, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? A couple weeks here, we might have one. So that's all for tonight's show. I know it's a little bit of a different show. I'm quite honestly still exhausted from yesterday. It was a long day, like no sleep, up at 3:30 in the morning, on the road by 5, back home by 7:30, 6.5 hours worth of driving in a crazy game. So it took a lot out of me. But look, I appreciate you all waiting for me and coming in tonight and partaking in the show. It's always a pleasure to be here. And we'll see y'all probably on Friday. We'll do the pregame show as usual. And I'll be at the game, so it'll be kind of the same thing. I'll do a post-game wrap-up show. Well, it'll probably be the next day because it's a late game. So it'll be the next day. We'll probably do the same thing, 6, 7, 8 o'clock the next day, and we'll have some fun with it during the Monday night game. So that's it for tonight. I'll check the chat one more time here, see if we have any more questions. Lone Wolf, later, man. Yep, later. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.
Wants to throw it to short. He caught it. He's going on a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.